Today in science class, we're going to continue our study of balancing chemical equations by using this interactive simulation to practice how you would add different amounts of atoms to each side of the equation to make sure that they're balanced. Let's take a look at the introduction and then we'll get into the different levels of today's game. Click here on the introduction page. You'll see that you're given an equation and you're allowed to change the coefficients here in front of these to count the number of those elements on each side. So you have to start out by adding 1 to each side, and that's going to give you a picture of actually how many there are. So normally when you've written this out in paper form, if nothing's written in front of it, you're going to assume that there's 1. Here you have to add 1 each time, and then you count them. This means there's 2 nitrogens, 2 hydrogens, and now NH3 means there's 1 nitrogen and 3 hydrogens. You'll notice that you don't have a balanced equation because there's 3 and 2, 1 and 2. So how do you make those equal? Well, to add to the nitrogens, now I have 2 nitrogens and 6 hydrogens, and then I would have to add hydrogens to make sure that they're equal. Notice when it comes to be balanced by adding numbers in front, you get this wonderful smiley face that tells you, hey, good job. Go to the next one. Separating water from H2O into hydrogen gas and oxygen gas, you again have to add 1 to begin. Then you're going to count them. I've got 2 hydrogens, 2 oxygens, and they're indicated by their color and kind of relative size. You've got 2 hydrogens and 1 oxygen. Here you have a oxygen that's not the same, so I have to increase the number of oxygens. 2 oxygens, 2 oxygens, 4 hydrogens, and 2 hydrogens. If I increase that, now I have a balanced chemical equation. To combust methane, you've got CH4O2. If I add 1 to each of these, I can then count what it would look like from the start. You've got 2 oxygens. Here you've got 3 oxygens, the red ones. Here you've got 1 carbon, that's the gray, and 4 hydrogens, the white. You've got 1 carbon and 2 hydrogens. Now some of this is trial and error, and this is what I like this better than kind of the paper and pencil format because there's no erasing. You're simply adding to an increased number. If I want to make sure that I have the same number of oxygens, I would, well, look at that. Add 2 here and 2 here to get a total of 4, and I add 2 here, 2 times 2 would give me 4, and now I have 1 carbon, 1 carbon, 4 oxygens, 4 oxygens, 4 hydrogens, and 4 hydrogens, and I've got a balanced set of chemical equations. Now, if you go to the game portion, there are different levels that you're going to go through, and it's increasing in difficulty as you go through each level. Your goal while completing this study is to get all the way to level 3. That'll show and demonstrate your mastery. Again, to start, you add 1 to each, and now you're going to count. I've got 2 nitrogens, 2 oxygens, 2 nitrogens, and 1 oxygen. Well, I need to increase my oxygens. By doing that, I've got 2 oxygens, now 4 nitrogens. I go back and increase, and if I click check, it gives me the indicator that I got it correct. Now, if I get it wrong in the game portion, it'll tell me to try again, and if I try and get it wrong, I'm awarded less points. Okay, so you want to make sure that you've checked it yourself before you click that check button so that you're going to get awarded as many points as possible. Next, I add 1 to each, and then I'm going to count them. Notice I've got 2, 2, 1, and 1. So if I add 2 here, I should have 2 whites and 2 yellows. If I check, got it right. Now, to make sure that you're doing this correctly, notice the indicator based on the molecule of what those colors are. So here chlorine is green. So in this molecule, you've got phosphorus and chlorine. Chlorine is the 3 green bubbles. So you've got 1 and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You've got 1 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Looks like I've got a balanced chemical equation. If I check, got it right. Here's an example of if you get it wrong. So let's put 1 in on each of these. I've got 4 and 2. I've got 1 and 3. So I need to increase this to 4. So now I've got the same number of phosphoruses that are matching. And let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 of those. Let's say I just added 10 and I checked. Ooh, I got it wrong. Try again. It doesn't change anything for me. But then if I check again and get it right, notice I only get 1 point instead of 2. So you get the maximum number of points if you get it correct the first time, then you make a change based on what you would have done wrong. Go back and check. Again, start by adding 1 and then count 2 hydrogens, 2 nitrogens, 1 nitrogen and 3 hydrogens. To make those equal, I would add here to make sure my nitrogens are 2 and 2, and now I've got 6 and 2. Add these two, check, and I've got it correct. So there's some playing that you can do here to add. As soon as you're increasing the number, you can see that those are going to visually pop up in front of you, and you can count those molecules as they're right there. Mr. Shane got that one wrong, so you got a 9 out of 10 in that first section. As you go up each level, you're going to notice that the difficulty gets to be a little bit greater. So there's a little bit more of a check and recheck as this process goes. But I think as you get better and better and better at this, you should be able to handle it all the way up to level 3. Let's keep working here. I've got C2H4O2, CO2H2O, so carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. There are 2 carbons, those are the gray ones here. There are 4 hydrogens, those are the white, and there are 2 oxygens. Now I've got 3 oxygens on this side, 1 carbon. I need to increase my carbons, which also increases my oxygen. So I got 2 carbons, 2 carbons. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 oxygens, which I don't like to have an odd number of, so if I increase that, now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 oxygens, 2 carbons, and 4 hydrogens. 2 carbons, 4 hydrogens, and I would need to add 3 here to have 6 oxygens. F2H2O, OF2HF. If I add 1 each, I can see the ratio that they have to start with, and then I can start to increase in order to make sure that I've got a balanced chemical equation. Notice I've got 2, 1 oxygen, 2 hydrogens. I've got 2, 3 of the F fluorine, 1 oxygen, and 1 hydrogen. So to increase or to make up for where I have some disparity, I'm going to need to make sure that those hydrogens are equal first. So now I've got 4. I can increase this to be 4, and I think I have a balanced chemical equation. Here again, we add 1 to each. We can check our ratios. You can see that I've got 2 oxygens and 2 oxygens, so those are already balanced. I've got 2 fluorines, 1 fluorine, so I need to increase that. By doing so, I've got 2 fluorines, 2 hydrogens, 2 fluorines, 2 hydrogens, 2 oxygens, 2 oxygens, and I've got a balanced chemical equation. Again, I start with 1 in each. Check my ratios. I've got 1 carbon, 4 hydrogens, 2 oxygens. I've got 1, 2, 3 oxygens in this case, 1 carbon, and 2 hydrogens. So to get my oxygens to be even, I've got to increase the number of oxygens, which I can match over here. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 reds, 1, 2, 3, 4 reds, which is 4 oxygens on each side. I've got 1 carbon, 4 hydrogens, and 4 hydrogens. Looks like I have a balanced chemical equation again. I add 1 to each. Now I can count. This is 1 carbon and 2 S, 2 oxygens, 1, 2, 3, 4 oxygens, so I need to increase my oxygens. I've got 1 carbon, I need 2 of these, so that's going to increase my oxygens again. I've got 1 carbon, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 2. Got a balanced chemical equation. Thank you. I'm an expert at this. Go into level 3, and those are just going to get increasingly more difficult. This is where I'd like you to try on your own and to do your best. God's blessings.